about our sonography program. We're both from Terre Haute. My name is LouAnn Wisbey, and I'm the Department Chair for Imaging Sciences.
And I'm Jennafer Grasfeder. I'm the Sonography Program Director.
So as you may have heard, we're bringing a program here to Sellersburg from the Terre Haute campus as a satellite, starting in spring of 2018. And we're going to accept 10 students for that program. And hopefully we'll be able to accept more as the program grows and as we get the logistics down and get everything the way we feel that it should be. So it is an accredited program. It will be the cardiac adult echo concentration. So we are very excited to partner with Norton Health System, and they will be our sole clinical site for this first round. So we have handed you all an information packet specific to the Sellersburg campus. So it gives you the dates of when things start, what's required, and that type of thing. So you can read that as your leisure and take it with you. But we're here to kind of point out the important parts of that packet, answer any questions you might have, let you know application deadlines and start dates and things of that sort. Okay?
There is a sign-in sheet up here. If you have not signed in, please make sure you do sign before you go.
Okay. All right. Well, basically, Jennafer and myself, we're going to go through this packet with you as it gives you ideas of what is going to be required of you in order to apply to the program, some of the physical demands that are required to go into this career choice, and we'll just kind of be team tagging here, answering questions as we go and typing in as things trigger me and as things trigger her to let you know, okay?
So we are from Terre Haute, as she said, but the reason we're here is there is a great need for sonography programs, especially in this area. With that being said, we've had a very successful program in Terre Haute now for, and I was trying to think, at least 8 years now, and we are fully accredited. And so with the need, and Norton realizing this huge need, and Norton actually employing some former students from Terre Haute, they were like, hey, can you put your program down there? Well, being accredited requires certain things, and accreditation is extremely important. We are accredited by CAHAP, which is this commission that says that you are doing things to a certain level of standards. So we want to make sure that allows you to take your registry exams once you graduate from the program, which is extremely important because most people will not employ you unless you take those exams and pass them. So we found a way to come here and offer the program here in a hybrid type fashion, which is the way we do it in Terre Haute also. And what that would entail is it is 4 semesters long. It would start spring, go through summer, fall, and then the following spring. And part of that, the first 8 weeks, you will be here on this campus. Class will be 1 day a week throughout every semester. There will be online assignments. There will be several things online you have to consider. But the first 8 weeks of the program, you don't go out to clinicals. You're here. And we do labs for 2 to 3 days a week. You have supervised and independent labs. Supervised, you will be working with an instructor, and then the independent, you practice what you've been working on. And you will have a required number of sessions every week. So during that time, you're learning how to hold the probe and to get you ready to go to clinicals. After that, clinicals are 2 days a week during the spring for the last 8 weeks of the semester. During the summer, they're 3 days a week. Fall and spring, they're 2 days a week. And throughout this, you will acquire many, many skills, we hope. And being, like I said, accredited, it actually gets you the option to take your boards, your registry exam, 60 days before you graduate. You can actually take your physics as soon as you finish the physics classes. And then 60 days before you graduate, you can take your cardiac. examinations. So you can actually graduate with all your registry exams taken. So that's a big deal to be able to graduate and be done. Go look for a job, find employment. So that's a nice thing. It is an intense program and there's a lot to it, but we will hire somebody here to be a clinical person. LouAnn is in Terre Haute, I'm in Terre Haute, but I will be down here quite a bit, especially those first 8 weeks. And then we will do remote classrooms some weeks where you can see me from the classroom in Terre Haute and I can see you. And then the other times I'll actually come down here and do some classes. So my presence will be there. And any of my students, they always have my cell phone number as well as our clinical side thing. So I can be reached anytime, preferably not 3 o'clock in the morning. And that has happened, so. But we want to try to give you the best education we can. And this is our pilot program in this area. So we're kind of looking forward to it and excited to see what we can do.
We are very excited. If you want to start going through the packet with us, I'll direct you on a couple pages. This page here has our contact information on it. So if you need to get a hold of any of us to talk to us about anything, these are the sources that you would reach, okay? Our email's there, our phone number is there, the title, and what we do. So any of us should be able to answer any questions for you. We are also planning on having a point person here on the Sellersburg campus that will be the so-called expert on the program, if that can happen this quickly. But we will do our best to communicate that with that person, and they will also have a contact person in Terre Haute to reach out to as well, not just these instructors or directors of the program, okay? So that is on page 2 in your packet, so you should be able to have that information. The next page pretty much is just about our accreditation, talking about what sonography is, who we're accredited by, and that information there. So you can always go to that and see. Then we kind of want to go into what the demands are of the job. I'm going to turn that back over to Jennafer because she does this on the weekend still. She loves to scan, and so she hasn't come out of the clinical. So she's going to give you a little bit insight on what the demands are of the job.
Everybody thinks that's all it is. It's not just waving something over somebody's body. There are a lot of physical tolls that this job can take on you. And actually a big part of our curriculum and our courses is teaching you ergonomics. And that is proper body mechanics to do this job, because there's a lot of injuries that can come from this job. And you need to consider, you're not just sitting there doing this or standing there doing this. There's actually a proper way to stand and sit. And there's a lot of physical injury that can come from improper body mechanics, I will say. We push machines up and down halls. We were just talking, there's one hospital that has carpet. Can you imagine taking a stretcher down a carpeted hall? It takes a little more than just tile. There's pushing patients in wheelchairs and pushing equipment and conforming to a patient who is in a fetal position and trying to put yourself in a position to be able to get to the area you need to get to. And it's not always easy, okay? So there are some physical demands to this program that a lot of people, this profession, a lot of people do not consider. And it can be very hard on the body. There are a lot of weekends that I've had bad weekends, and after 30 years of doing this, I feel it. I hurt. I ache. They didn't teach us ergonomics when I went to school a long time ago when we carved it out in stone. But to learn them now, that's very important. And I want you to think about this. I mean, I've had a student in the past, she'd had like 4 back surgeries, and she thought this would be the thing for her, and because this is all she thought you did. It's not. And so really consider some of the physical things, and we put some of the physical things you will be getting into. The other thing to consider also is it's not just this, there are things you will encounter in all of healthcare, but also in sonography. So it's echo, we're looking at the heart, but there's times we have students that have to go into the open heart surgery because they're replacing a valve and they need ultrasound during that. So you may be there with somebody's chest wide open, or people who have open wounds after surgery. I have been thrown up and more times than I can tell you on. So there are things you will encounter. Trauma, blood, every bodily fluid you can think of. So a lot of people think, well, I'm not going to go into nursing because I don't want to deal with bodily fluids. You're going to get it in ultrasound also. So think about that. If you're squeamish, consider some of the things you may find. So, and we're going to give you some ideas of how to really talk about and encounter what you may see in the profession here in a few minutes. If you go down the line, these are the essential functions described by our profession. So if you're really wondering how much and what is essential, they are listed.
As we go on, you will be subject to criminal background checks and drug testing. That is a requirement of the program. It also is a requirement of the, in order for you to sit for your boards. There could be a possibility that, depending on what's on your background check, the accredited body or the boards will not allow you to sit for your boards. They can say no. So we do have the information on here of the bodies that you can call and find out if you have something on your background check and say, hey, does this keep me from taking my boards?
And the thing is, it is a process. You can call and get the information, but you have to go through the whole process.
And that information is on here as well that you can refer to. The college itself, Ivy Tech in Terre Haute, does have its own process as well. If you do have something on your background check and it does show up, the clinicals have the right to refuse you from coming into their clinical site. So that is solely up to that clinical site. If any of you have a concern about that, please reach out to us and we can work with you on that to see what we've handled in the past, but it's ultimately up to the clinical site. We also have cards in the back through Norton that you can talk to their HR people and see if that might be an issue for them as well. So that also will happen. That is done yearly. You get the drug test and the background check yearly. And then if anything happens between that, you are required to self-report. Please don't set us up for opening up the newspaper or having a clinical site call and say, hey, we saw so-and-so's name in the paper for possible DUI or some kind of possession or something. That makes us look bad, it makes you look bad, it makes us look like we're trying to hide something from the clinicals. So honesty is the best policy. So we also ask that you self-report in between any type of drug testing or background checks. Clinicals have the right to drug test anyone at any time. They can, if they're doing a random throughout their department and they say, hey, you're here, you're doing that, you have to do it. If they're suspicious and they feel like they need to do one, that could be out of your own cost, out of pocket for you. You're going into healthcare, so it's important that we don't have these issues and that everything's on the up and up. Okay? So then if we go on into the curriculum, page 11, you will see what the general education prerequisites are in that first semester. The Anatomy 1, the Math, College Algebra, the English and the medical terminology are required to apply. Okay? Those need to be done by October 15th, 2017. Okay? In order to be eligible to start in spring of 18. All of the gray shaded area has to be done by the end of December or the fall semester in order to come into the program. So that's going to be pretty hard if you haven't started on any prereqs up until now, because that's a pretty tight window. The RADT 117 course, which is Radiation Physics and Equipment Operation, is taken through the Terre Haute campus online. It will be offered this summer, starting June 5th. And if we have enough people, we can also offer it in the fall. Okay?
So the thing is, if you may need some of these classes, you may need to take them over the summer or during the first 8 weeks of fall. But the applications have to be submitted to Terre Haute, which you can mail them, and we'll give you that address here shortly, and received by October 15th of this year. Okay?
Anything in the gray shaded area except for the RADT 117 can be taken on the Sellersburg campus. It does not have to be taken in Terre Haute. Okay? You can take that through Ivy Tech Sellersburg. You also, as we scroll down through here, you will see that there will be a test called a TEAS test that will be required by that October 15th date as well. This will be the last year we use that test. But if you're wanting in on this cohort, you will have to take it by that deadline. Okay, and you can take that here as well.
Future cohorts will be using a different examination. It's called a USA test, and it's made for ultrasound. Now, I do want to say also with that that curriculum that if you're a current Ivy Tech student, we will be able to see your transcripts. But if you have credits from a different institution and you have not sent them to this Ivy Tech, you need to have them sent as soon as possible, because if they need to be evaluated for transfer credits, they need to be done immediately. So if you have credits from a different institution, please get them sent to this institution as soon as possible.
And when you go on to the Ivy Tech website to apply to the college, it will ask you if you have transcripts from anywhere else and you want to go ahead and have those sent. So you will have, there's 2 applications. You will have to apply to the college as well as to the program. Okay? So you apply to Ivy Tech, and then before that October 15th deadline, you will do the paper application, which is in this packet on the very back page, and mail it in with all the stuff that's required to the Terre Haute campus.
Is anybody in here not an Ivy Tech student currently? All right, so you'll have to apply to the college, to ivytech.edu, so you can be assigned a C number, and that way when your transcripts are sent in, they can be attached to your number.
There's no cost to apply. It's a free application process, so you would want to get that started as soon as possible. Okay? Again, this just breaks it down for you on page 14, the steps, what you need to take first, what needs to be done in order to start, and then it talks about how the TEAS test comes into play and what those deadlines are. Okay? And in here, this is how you get accepted, how each course has a point tied to the grade that you get in that course. We add those points up, and we're taking the top 10. Okay?
And it's a combination of those prerequisite classes, those 4 prerequisite classes, and then 10% of the TEAS test.
Okay? So then when you do that, you're going to fill out this grid,
which needs to be, make
on
sure it
page
has to go
16.
to your application packet. That has to be included.
So page 16, you will fill that out and assign those points to that as well as your TEAS. Okay? And that will come in with your application, or your actual application. And it just gives you a checklist one more time to make sure everything is in that packet, because when you send in your application, if you have something missing, it automatically goes as an incomplete packet. So you want to make sure that everything on this page is included in what you mail in. Okay?
And these applications are evaluated by a third party. We actually have nothing to do with it, so there is no bias. And so if there is anything missing, that person tosses it to the late pile. You are a late applicant, and that puts them on the bottom of the list. So,
Right, or you become incomplete.
incomplete applicant.
Okay? Another thing that we kind of want to make you aware of, there is quite a bit of cost coming into a healthcare program. You are required to do a physical, as we talked about earlier, background check and drug test. Those are all at your own expense. Uniforms, your immunizations, those have to be up to date, and you have to prove immunity to certain diseases that are required by the clinical. So if you can't prove that, then you may have to get titers drawn and different things like that. It can be very costly. So if you're planning on coming into any health program, you probably want to go ahead and start finding out where your immunizations are, and that you are able to show proof that you had either the disease or the immunization. You must be CPR certified, and that's healthcare provider. Basic life support is what is required. So any other kind of CPR will not be accepted. So if you have a question on that, we can look at your card, but it must be active during the program. Okay? You will be required to have a TB test as well, yearly. And eye exam, you have to be able to see, you have to be able to differentiate colors. So those are requirements to come into the program as well. Okay? And you will have to travel to the clinical site. So you're going to have a good vehicle and gas money. And right now it's not an issue, but a couple of years ago when gas got really expensive, people were like, we can't afford to drive that far, and unfortunately we couldn't control those gas prices, or believe me, I would have. But it can get costly. So,
And there's also the aspect of uniforms. They will be required, but the bookstore manager was here earlier, and he did say that they would arrange to have the uniforms here. They would talk to the Terre Haute bookstore to find out what was needed, but that is an additional cost.
and your books will also be here as well. Usually the first semester is the most expensive. Most of the books that we use will be used throughout the program, but you have to buy them in the first semester. Uniforms, first semester. Background check, drug test, first semester. So that's where most of your costs will come in, and then the cost kind of lets up after that. Okay?
There's also another cost I forgot to mention. We use what is called an electronic portfolio. It is a system where it keeps your time records and everything else, and so that's a fee that goes in with your tuition also.
Yeah. So, all these programs are subject to financial aid. If you have it, you can use it. You just want to make sure that you do your FAFSA. You want to make sure that you let the college know that that's the program you're going into and that you do want to use financial aid. Norton also has a program they'll talk about here in just a few minutes. And so there's a lot of financial assistance out there for you. There's millions of scholarships that never get applied for. It's just a matter of going down there and doing the work and saying, it's a lot of work that you can do. It could take you a week to get all the scholarships that are out there. But if you get them, it's worth it. Because we all know that college debt is not a good thing, and it's hard to pay off, and it's not cheap. So, yeah.
Now, I will say this is for the cardiac concentration. Our programs, the way they work is we alternate the concentrations offered. We're starting out with cardiac. The next program to be offered will be vascular, and then probably general after that, unless there is a true and dire need for echo to run again sooner. The profession right now is being hit hard with shortages, and there are great needs out there. Not just right here, they're all over the country. So we will address that after the vascular concentration goes around, and we'll see what happens. But just be aware, if this isn't the concentration you had intended on thinking about, we do also offer others.
We will tell you also that our last cardiac class, we put out 14 students, and they were all hired before they even graduated. The clinicals snatched them up as they were doing their clinicals there. So it's a great field. There's a huge need. You will probably never ever have to worry about getting a job. So we had a few, I'm not sure where it came from, but from the last session, and they were like, well, my mom said, don't go into anything imaging because there's no jobs. That is not true. It's a huge myth. So our radiology class all got hired, our cardiac class got hired. They're waiting for our vascular students to graduate so they can grab them up. We get calls daily. So, yeah. So we will let our Norton representatives speak here for just a minute.
Sure.
And they have some things that they would like to share with you as well, since that's going to be our clinical partnership.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So I'm Kelly Burns, and I run the vascular departments for our adult hospitals, and this is Angie Bays. So we just wanted to talk to you just a little bit. Norton's has wanted to partner with Terre Haute's program at Ivy Tech, and so we're really excited. But I know a lot of people here may not know exactly. Maybe you just thought ultrasound might sound fun, or you just kind of wanted to come to this meeting to see what was going on. So we wanted to let you all know, if you're not exactly sure if this is the right field for you, or you'd like to get a little bit more information about it, we are very agreeable and would like you to come shadow or see what we do in our jobs. So if you're interested in that, we have some cards back there for Christy.Ralston. She is our workforce development person, who is kind of our liaison between Norton Healthcare and Ivy Tech. So she can get you the information and get you in contact with us so that you can actually get into one of our facilities and see what it is that we do. Like they said, cardiac is going to be the first concentration. So that is entirely different than what we might do in vascular. So it might be helpful if you kind of get it narrowed down to a couple different types of ultrasound that you might be interested in, that you check out those two areas. Because if you can actually get in the field and see what it is we do every day, that might help shape what you're thinking. Because a lot of people get into something and kind of figure out partway through that maybe it isn't exactly what they thought. So we would welcome that, so come back there and get that information. Anything you want to add? Norton Scholars, do you want to cover that?
Yeah, we have something called Norton Scholars. So if you have any kind of financial aid that you can use through your FAFSA or anything like that, of course we want you to use that free money first, but we do have programs through Norton Hospital that they can help pay for your schooling. We also have a lot of entry-level positions that can be just a PRN, so you're just working maybe a couple evenings a week, something like that, or weekends, so that you can go ahead and get your foot in the door at Norton's and start seeing what the healthcare field is like. As Kelly had said, the modalities, we have 3 different modalities that we're doing of ultrasound. They are very different, even though they're all ultrasound, so we would really, really encourage you, if you're interested in this, to come and do a job shadow and see what each one is like. I know everyone thinks ultrasound, oh, I'm going to look at babies, but ultrasound is a huge, huge field. And there are so many more opportunities than that. We both have been in ultrasound for, well, we're not going to say
25 plus years. So, yeah.
And couldn't see myself doing anything different. And it is very true, the need is very real for all modalities of ultrasound. So there are not people out there saying, oh, I wish I could get a job. It's more like, I want a job in this particular hospital. You might have to wait on that. But there are always opportunities out there. What's great about ultrasound is, since it has no radiation, a lot of the testing that we have these days are wonderful, but we have to be very cognizant of how much radiation we're giving a patient. So since there's no radiation with ultrasound, they're using us a lot, and the technology is only improving, and we need you all.
Yeah. The Department of Labor actually said from 2014 to 2024 that the ultrasound force is going to grow by 24%. So that's way larger than any other sector, especially in healthcare. So we are going to see that. And then with the health insurance, the way it is now, they don't want to pay for these expensive MRIs, CTs, things like that without first using ultrasound. So we will see continued growth in this field. So I suspect you're not going to have any trouble finding jobs in the foreseeable future. So a lot of people ask about salaries. What can you kind of expect coming out? Department of Labor reports the median salary for a medical sonographer is around $30. So just to kind of give you an idea, that's very comparable to a lot of people that are in nursing or something like that. You're going to see a very comparable kind of pay scale coming out of that. Just to kind of give you an idea, for an 18-month program, an associate degree type program, I think that's a pretty good wage that you're going to see. So.
And although, of course, we're here representing Norton, which is where you'll do your clinicals, there are many other very good hospitals in the area and outlying. And so, even if you don't want to stay with Norton's and you end up going somewhere else, there are many, many job opportunities out there for you.
Hospitals, physicians' offices. So there's a wide variety of different places that you can find yourself working. Anybody have any questions for us in particular, like maybe about ultrasound or what it is we might do, or anything about Norton Healthcare that we can answer? Otherwise, we'll turn it back over to these ladies. Anything? All right, we'll be in the back if you want to pick up a packet, and just feel free to reach out to us and we'll get you in the hospital and you can ask more questions and kind of see what it is that we do. All right, thank you.
Thank you, ladies. And I will say, guys, we have an issue in Terre Haute finding places for students to shadow. It is not a welcome thing there. So for Norton to say, please come shadow, that's huge. That is a very big bonus. So if you are given that opportunity, I highly suggest you guys take advantage of it, because so many times we have students who get into the program and go, this isn't what I thought it was, and they drop out, and that spot has been used by somebody who didn't really want it, and there was somebody who did want it, So really go in being informed, make those informed decisions. And the Norton Scholar program they were talking about, I told the other group that in my 30 years I've never had a hospital offer anything like that. So, wow, that's a big thing if you can look into those scholarships. That's a nice thing.
Yes, it's very nice, because usually what happens is if you work for a facility and they have tuition reimbursement, you got to pass that class, show proof, and then they pay you. This is money up front, so it's no out-of-pocket monies that you have to come up with to pay your tuition. So it is an excellent, excellent opportunity for you if it's something that fits in with your schooling. So yes. So Jennafer and I would be happy to take any specific questions about the program, how it's going to run, what's expected of you once you get in, what our role will be here, if you need any gen ed courses, or the prerequisites, I guess, we'll be happy to answer those questions. We are offering that RADT 117 course, the radiation physics this summer. It starts June 5th. If you want to get that out of the way, we still have openings in that class. It's definitely going to run. We have enough students to have it run. So there's no risk that it will get dropped or anything like that for lack of students. So like I said, that is being ran through the Terre Haute campus as a complete online course. It's probably a good one to get used to the online component of the class and of the program, so you can get used to Canvas. If you are an Ivy Tech student and you haven't heard, we are switching learning systems. So we are divorcing Blackboard and we're marrying Canvas, which is going to be a transition, but we feel like it's going to be a very good transition. It would be nice to be able to kind of take one class this summer and get used to that so that you understand that learning system. So, any questions? Yes, ma'am.
First of all, thank you all for coming. As I've talked to students who are interested in the program, again, most of them want OB or ultrasound. So my question in being able to advise them properly, if they were to do this cardiac track and become employed doing that modality of ultrasound, do you have students who then go back and maybe get the courses specific to the OB track or to the general track? to where they can then become employed in that area, or is that something professionally that's just not done?
I think there's two different ways to look at this. The first thing is if they are employed like in a smaller hospital that wants them to cross-train, they can practice in that other modality for a year and then they are eligible to take their registries. The second way is something we are actually working on is a certificate program that once they have their associate degree, then they come back and they can cross-train into a second modality. It wouldn't require all the classes of the associate degree, just the clinical and the point classes. So it is something to consider, but I do highly recommend them observing all modalities. We were just discussing this earlier. I actually have done all three modalities for a whole bunch of years, and OB is not my favorite. and it is a very, because it's heart-wrenching sometimes.
I've heard multiple people say OB is not their favorite, just because it's hard.
It's emotional.
It's very emotional.
It is very, very emotional. And that's what we were talking about earlier. Actually, 40 good babies do not make up for one bad baby. And you take that home with you. You do. So, there are other avenues of ultrasound, and I love my vascular and my cardiac, and I love my abdominal.
We're not trying to talk anyone out of a modality, because it's different for everybody. Everybody has a different love, and it's like, I used to be a radiation therapist, and I would go into work and treat cancer patients every day, and that people would be like, how do you do that? Aren't you? But it was one of the most rewarding areas that I have ever worked in. So, as Jennafer said, 40 good doesn't make one bad, but those 40 good, and you come up to that one bad, and you're able to say, hey, let's get this person to surgery right now. Let's get this baby in there, and let's get this heart fixed or whatever. That's also very rewarding. So it's just what your passion is.
But just don't focus on one thing. Be willing to open up and look at other modalities.
As Jennafer had said before, the smaller hospitals, often you are asked to cross-train. Now, when you get into the larger hospitals, ultrasound has become so specialized, and technology is so advanced now, that we really want you to concentrate more on one modality. Does cross-training happen? Yes, it does. But those are, like I said, usually smaller hospitals. They may not have the newest technology, and they just need sort of gateway tests, and then they might to figure out if they need to send you to a larger center or not. So is cross-training done? Absolutely. We both cross-train. We're both trained in echo and vascular. But now, as the technologies become more specialized, we had to. I'm only in echo, and she's only in vascular now. And to speak with what she was saying about the babies, babies. It is wonderful to see those babies and see them grow and all of that sort of thing. But you also have to realize that you're looking for abnormalities, and you're going to find them. And so you have to really dig deep and see, can I see that? Can I see a fetus that's not viable, or a baby missing limbs, and still go home and function in my real life? So just be really honest with yourself about what you can handle as a person and what you can handle for your patient, because they're going to be staring at you for guidance.
Very much so. Thank you.
And every one of the modalities is so rewarding in very different ways. I have had some amazing experiences in my 30 years in each modality that makes me just want to keep on doing this. I have never gotten bored. I have never gotten tired of doing this, and never regret my decision for this profession. And I can't imagine myself doing anything else. This is why I like to share it, and I want to instill that passion in other people, because it is an amazing career. It's, just got to find where you belong.
So any specific questions to the college and how the program will run? Yes, ma'am.
Do you have to take any of the prerequisite classes to take the radiation? Like the...
No. I mean, we ask that you have some math before you take it. So that could stop you if you don't have any math.
So I was in sonography program somewhere else, so I've taken a lot of these classes. I just bring them to my advisor to see if they transfer.
You need to have those transcripts in here, and they will determine if the credits transfer in.
So did you actually take sonography courses?
You did for a year.
Okay. That would be something that we would have to look at as a team to see if any of those come in. Were they specific to a concentration?
It was general.
General, okay. So probably, maybe, we'd have to look at it.
Wasn't it accredited program?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, okay, because, yeah,
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
huge that they have an accredited program here.
well,
And the college also has to be accredited in order for the credits to come in.
right, if your college is not accredited, Ivy Tech does not.
So if they don't transfer, I will have to take all these prerequisites again.
We'll have to look at it.
Okay.
It's so specific and it depends on which college it comes
So
from.
get those to my advisor.
Well, have a transcript evaluated. That's the first thing. Have your transcript evaluated, then we'll see what comes in. And then from there, we can decide, sorry, we can't do this, you're gonna have to start over. We need to get this done, we need to get that done.
Would that happen quick enough to register for June 5th?
If you can get that in, you know, ASAP, and honestly, if you have any doubt whatsoever, I would go ahead and register for those classes so that they don't drop or get filled up. And then you can always drop them if we don't need them. But at least if not, then you're in, you can take them and, you know, and it won't be an issue.
And you need to physically probably go pick up those transcripts in a sealed envelope. You cannot open them, and make sure it's officially stamped and bring
And
it
carry
here.
it to the registrar.
Yeah, and just here, okay.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I mean, like I would apply tonight,
I did
Yeah.
that. I actually brought them, and she said that they couldn't.
maybe.
Just get it.
Were they open?
Hold on.
Well, and that's what I just wanted to be able to share, you know, in the interest of time, because classes start in 2 weeks. I'm Catherine Sherrard, I'm the Vice Chancellor of Academics in this region, and so we have the same rules across the state, and we want to make sure that, I'm glad you all said specifically which courses, because as LouAnn and Jennafer mentioned, if they are sonography courses, they'll need to be evaluated by those programmatic faculty. And so there are nationally accredited programs, there are regionally accredited colleges, so, and you might have some classes from various programs. If you're from this area, even if it was from several years ago, we started doing dual credit in the high schools in like 07, 08. Or you might have some classes from dual credit if you were in Kentucky. So remember those as well, because there are a lot of high school students too, or those that might have had math, English, communication. So if there were specific programs or colleges that you want to ask about, we do have Kay Burris, one of our advisors. So if there are some general questions we want to ask, if there's something we can help in the interest of time, so that I know that with advising, I don't know if maybe the express enrollment dates, there's one May 31st. But what she was saying too is that if you bring the transcripts, bring them to the registrar's office, the express enrollment center. So,
And that's crucial that the transcript is sealed, or they won't consider it official. So, yeah. Yes, sure, no problem. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I was wondering, so is this an every year you get to apply, or is it every semester? Like,
We're hoping that it will happen every spring, so every, right now it's October 15th, so if that continues, it would be October 15th of the following year. So, we're looking at vascular to run the next time, and hopefully we'll be able to accept more students if we can get more clinical sites. But right now, we could only land about 10 spots in the clinical, so that's how we came up with the 10 number. But yes, we're hoping that this partnership continues and that we can offer the rotation here, just like we do in Terre Haute, and it would be a one time a year application.
do you think it'll grow enough for that to happen, for it to be every year?
Yeah, we do. We are very pleased with the outcome of the students who have showed interest. We're very pleased with the hospital's interest as well. Sellersburg has been amazing in welcoming us to this campus. We're hoping that partnership continues to grow. What we were talking about earlier is as people are waiting to get into this program, they have that option to possibly get their CNA or their phlebotomy while they're waiting, or EMT or something else that would also help benefit them in healthcare itself, and get that certificate while they're waiting to get into the sonography program, just so that they have another credential in case they go to a smaller town and they want to see all those credentials. Medical assisting is another one, if you can get a certificate in that, that in the year that you're waiting. All of those things that fall under healthcare support and a few things under medical assisting are all beneficial. So it's just a win-win, I think, for everyone. And we're hoping that with the technology and all of those things that we can bring that distance closer instead of being 3.5 hours away, that we can cut that down through, some of the technology with the two-way and having the support of a clinical instructor here. That's our goal.
With the radiology class, do you apply for that here or through the Terre Haute campus?
We brought a few today. If anyone is interested, we can go ahead and sign you up today, but you would need to contact myself or Jennafer for us to sign you up. And we just need your C number and an email basically saying you want to take the course.
And truly, as Kelly was saying, this profession is not going anywhere. I mean, we have been contacted by 3 different Chicago organizations begging us to start a program up there, and no. But the need is out there, and if you truly look, they are begging for techs, and it's not just here, it's all over the country. And New Zealand even contacted me last week going, can you come down here and work? I mean, sounds great, but England has a horrible shortage right now. It is all over because this profession is just growing and growing, and we find out we can do more and more with it every year. And really skilled, qualified people, it's huge. I mean, so this is something to think about.
Yep.
I don't anticipate numbers ever shrinking. Our applicant pool for Terre Haute gets larger every year.
So once we meet the 15th deadline, how long after that will we get a yes or no?
It would be within probably a few weeks, because we would have to be back down here in December to give an orientation to get you ready for January.
Yeah, we would have to have the background checks and everything done before that January start date. So it's going to be a very short turnaround time. So yes. Yes, ma'am.
So is it after this fall, you're not going to accept the TEAS test, we're going to do it different?
Right. This is absolutely the last cohort that will be using the TEAS test. We've used it in Terre Haute, but they have now come out with a test specifically for ultrasound students. It's the USA test, and that goes into effect for the next cohort in Terre Haute, and then it would be for the next cohort here after that.
So how would we, say we didn't have this year, but maybe next year, how would we study for that?
If you're for, the USA test, there is no study. It is a very unique test. It is it is for hand-eye coordination, visual perception, what detail can you see, detail orientation, what's the differences in the 2 images, logic, reasoning, graph problems. There is no studying. It's strictly persistence. These are qualities. It's evaluating. It's not really a test. I would say it's more of an evaluation to see what you're made of, and it helps you kind of weigh, is this maybe the right field for me? So something to think about. So if you're not interested in this concentration, then yes, you might wait.
But that's also when you probably learn radiation class too, some of it.
The radiation physics is just radiation physics. It's a physics class. It's part of the prereqs ordered by the JRC DMS, and it's funny because what happens is you'll find out eventually most of the concepts in radiation physics actually are similar to the sound physics in many ways. You wouldn't think so at first, but it is. So,
Any other questions? If not, we have some advisors in the back that you're welcome to ask specific questions to. Also, we have the Norton people in the back that you could ask specific questions to Norton about. And Jennafer and I will be hanging around as well if you have specific questions for us. Here is our contact information. Again, it's in your packet, but the only one that wasn't was Lisa Moore. She's our advisor in Terre Haute specific to health. And her email is lmoore115 at ivtech.edu. If you would like to write that down, or you can always email one of us and we can send you her information as well. So we will have our advising people working with the advising people here. We will have appointed people for you. If you leave here today and you're like, oh, I wish I would have asked that question, please don't hesitate to email myself or Jennafer, and we will be happy to answer the question for you. And we will do anything in our power to evaluate, look at, tell you what you need to do as far as advising on how to get this to happen, and hopefully you'll be one of the top 10. So, and right now everybody has the exact same chance because we don't have one application.
I'm just curious how the group here heard about the information session today.
I got emails.
A friend of mine.
Anybody else? Different way?
Prosser. I came to Prosser.
We had just a short window of time, we
Yeah,
were very
right.
pleased with the turnout at both sessions, so that's why I wanted to see, so that's great.
And this is kind of a great prospect that's come together in a very short time. So.
Yeah, thank you all for coming.
Yes, thank you so much for coming, giving up your Tuesday evening or afternoon.
Please come back and get practice.
Yes.
Yeah, there's also